What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Elliott Delp, and today we are going to be going over what optic you should put on your AR15. Alright, so this is more of an entry level, just getting into the AR15 platform, and you're just trying to figure out what kind of optic you want to place on your rifle. So let's get right into it. So like I said before the intro rolled, we are going to be going over what optic you should put on your AR15. Really, this is more of an entry level video for someone that's just getting into the AR15 platform and doesn't really know exactly what they want on their optic, what really is out there for them to choose from. And hopefully I'm going to bring to light some different options people have that they could put on their gun to hopefully be the most efficient that they can be with it. Alright, so by no means is this list comprehensive, and I'm not really going over brands or anything. I will mention brands, like right here we have the primary arms, 1 to 6, but I'm not really going to go into super specific brands. One thing I am going to be leaving off of this this kind of talk is the prism optics. So like the ACOG, for example, is just a 3X. I'm not bringing up any of that, okay? So if you're thinking about an ACOG, this is probably not the video for you, and I'm well aware that I'm leaving it out. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first I want to start, what are you actually using your rifle for? Is it home defense? Is it hunting? Is it both, for example? And that really guides what optic you need to use. So for example, on like this AR15 right here in the back, that rifle has a 1 to 8 on it. That rifle is primarily my home defense rifle, but I also like to take it to the range, and I also have dabbled shooting in it or like predator hunting with it. And for example, that rifle right there is a 3 to 8. It has a more of a traditional scope on it, so that will be more for like my hunting purposes and longer range shots. Alright, so let's get right into it, and we'll start. We're really hitting three main topics here. We're going for the red dot sight, we're going for the more traditional scope like this one right here, and we're talking about the LPVO, the low powered variable optic. Alright, so let's start out with the traditional scope. So a traditional scope is really like a fan favorite for a lot of people. I know when I first got my very first AR-15, I had a Nikon Buckmaster that I put on it. That scope was a 4 to 12. It's not that exact same. I have two Nikon Buckmasters, but that one right there, and it was a 4 to 12. I planned on using the AR-15 primarily for hunting. I hadn't really gotten into it. I wanted to take it pig hunting, coyote hunting, stuff like that. So I really opted for the more traditional scope because it really does everything well. I recommend like a 3 to 9 or a 4 to 12, and pick a more reputable brand. Okay, I've dabbled in the less, probably inexpensive optics. I've bought Amazon optics. I've reviewed tons of Amazon stuff on the channel, and when it comes to actual glass, I can say that I'm not too big of a fan of it. It works, it's kind of inexpensive, but I wouldn't recommend buying it, because most of the time if you just spend a little bit more money, you can get a pretty decent optic. For example, this Crossfire here, this is a Vortex. I'm not exactly sure how much this runs right now, and I know they released a different line that's very similar to the Crossfire. Link will be down in the description below for everything I really talk about, so if you want to check that out, you can. I think this runs about 150, but the 3 to 9 version runs about, I want to say a little bit less than that. This is the 4 to 12. And I really like the 4 to 12. I ran this on the Grendel for the longest time, because the Grendel was my hunting rifle. After I really got into AR-15s, I picked up my 6.5 Grendel, and I loved the thing. Really converted that 223 back there to more of a range day fun type thing. Just used it to shoot had fun with it, practiced with it. It's just stuff like that. Alright, so really your more traditional scopes are going to be better for your hunting scenarios or your long range shooting scenarios. Moving down, or I guess let's go to just the opposite end of everything. You have your red dot sights. So your red dot sights are more for your close quarters stuff. If you have like a primarily home defense weapon, a red dot sight would be a very good option. Okay, and I'm saying that because when you're in a home defense situation, you throw up your scope that's magnified 3 or 4 times. It can be hard to pick up your sights and put it on target. Okay, and with everything going on, your adrenaline's going crazy. So it's best if you can pull up your gun right away and you can have the target in your sights. Red dots are super, in my opinion, and this is all in my opinion, red dots are super easy to get accustomed to and to train with, and they're fun. When I first got my AR-15, I hadn't had any experience with red dots, and I still haven't had a ton of experience with red dots. Just dabbled. I have a few, but they're a blast to have on your rifle, and they're a blast to shoot. They're super fun, and they're good for the self-defense and close quarters stuff. If you're doing like a training session and you're just trying to work on your like 10-yard, 15-yard shots down at the range, a red dot's a really good thing to practice with. Okay. So there's kind of your two ends of your spectrum here. You have your red dot and you have your more traditional scope. Now let's talk about the bridge. And I wouldn't really say this is like the best solution by any means whatsoever. And you're also leaving out your magnifiers on your red dot. But the low powered variable. So this is a primary arms 1-6 low powered variable optic. Now, what a low-powered variable optic does, or I guess really what its intent is it goes from 1 to 6 zoom. So I guess what it does is when you're on your 1 power, it simulates a red dot. And I guess that's the best way to describe it the easiest. You really get your full, or intended to get your full field of view. When you look down, it's super easy to pick up. It's like I said, just like a red dot. I'm sitting here with both eyes open and have no problem picking it up. I mean, you shift it a little bit, it does have a problem, but for the most part, your 1-6, you throw it up on the 1 and there you go. It's just similar to a red dot. But maybe you want to do a little bit more distance. Maybe you want to go out to 100, 200 yards. Then you throw it in your 6 position. I don't really ever run it in between a 1 and a 6 or a 1 and 8 or a 1 and a 4. It's either one or the other. And you can take more long range shots more confidently. Alright, and that's kind of the pro to a low powered variable, but the con is you don't really get the red dot quality of picking up your target instantly. You can get pretty close, and it does do pretty good. It works really well. Low powered variables are really popular right now, and for good reason, because they're really exciting to have, and they do a very good job, but they're not as good they're not a red dot. You're getting your 1x, but a lot of times it's not perfectly your 1 power zoom. It can shift a little bit depending on what kind of glass you're buying, how much quality's in it. A lot of things determine the differences, but for the most part, you get your 1-6. But like I said, it's not the red dot quality. And then you also don't get as much zoom, so you don't really get your longer range. You won't be able to take your longer range shots, 600, 700 yards, that you can do with your more powerful optics, like your 4-12s or your 3-9s or whatever it may be. Now, I'm not saying you can't take them. I know the 1-6, this ACS, this primary arms has the ACSS reticle in it, and let me I'm not exactly for sure. It goes out to 800 yards, so it has BDC in it for 800 yards, but I don't think it would be very useful out to 800 yards, especially because it's for a 5.56, and that's really stretching 5.56's legs. But it can be done, but I personally wouldn't do it. I'd rather have something like this. Alright? But the low power variable tries to bridge the gap between these two extremes of the no magnification and the high magnification. And if you're wanting something for home defense, and you're wanting something you can also take out to the range and shoot a little bit distance, I definitely would recommend the LPVOs. Alright, like I said, Primary Arms has a good one. I know Vortex, the Strike Eagle, is very popular. I've never had a chance to get my hands on one. I'd love to. And then you have that True Glow 1 to 8 Omnia. That's True Glow is more like upper end brand, or not brand, but upper end line of optics. And let me tell you, that one, I love that Omnia back there. It's a blast. 1 to 8, it's super nice. Okay. So if you're looking for if you're really trying to look for different optics, I mean, these are pretty much your main competitors or contenders in terms of what type. I mean, you might have little variations in the red dot, like there's red dots and there's reflex sights, and then you have your red dot magnified, and I've never ran that, so that's kind of why I'm not really bringing that up. I know a lot of people like it, I see it a lot, but I have no real experience with a red dot magnified. Alright, so I'm not going to talk about it. And as well as the prism optics like the ACOG, or I know Primary Arms has a bunch of them, like your 2X little scope looking things, or actually they look more like a red dot. I don't really have any experience with them either, because they've never really piqued my interest. They've never really done anything for me, so I've never really had a desire to go out and look at them. So I think that about does it for the video, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope you can better make a good decision on what optic you should pick up for your rifle. Alright, like I said earlier in the video, all these links will be down in the description below, so go check them out, and I really appreciate it. Also, please go hit that subscribe button, like button as well, and go comment down below. Comment what you think I should talk about next, or what I should do next, or what I should review next. I'm really thinking about doing a 7.62 build for the channel, talking about what that's good for, how to use just basically everything on the 7.62 by 39 and an AR15 platform. So go comment down below what you think. But I think that about does it. I'll see y'all next time, and as always, guys, take someone outdoors.